Today's objective is to be able to solve equations with variables on both sides by applying different skills and properties. So we learn how to solve equations with variables on both sides. Then we learn how to solve equations with variables on both sides also using the distributive property. And then we learn how to solve equations with variables on both sides, which also required us to combine like terms. Now today we're going to put all of those skills that we previously learned before and put them all into one equation. So we're going to solve equations that's going to require us to distribute as well as combine like terms. So here we have example 1. What is the solution to the following equation? 6 parentheses 6v plus 6 minus 5 is equal to 1 plus 6v. So essentially we want to figure out what number for v we can substitute into our equation so that we get the same value on both sides of our equal sign. So we want to move things around until we figure out what the value of v is. However, in one of our previous lessons, we learned that we can't move things around in an equation when we see that there are parentheses that are involved. So, anytime you solve an equation, the very first thing that you want to do is always you want to check, are there any parentheses that I need to get rid of? Sometimes there might not be any parentheses. Sometimes there might be parentheses on just one side of the equation. And sometimes there might be parentheses on both sides of the equation. In this case, I only see parentheses on the left-hand side of this equation. So I need to get rid of these parentheses in order to begin moving things around or even to begin combining like terms so that we can solve this equation. So first I'm going to take this positive 6 and I'm going to distribute it to what's inside of my parentheses and only to what's inside of the parentheses. Notice that I am not distributing it to the negative 5 because that negative 5 is not inside of my parentheses. And so I get 6 times 6v, and then I have positive 6 times positive 6. And now everything else that I haven't touched on this side of the equation, I'm just simply going to bring it down. Now on the right-hand side of my equation, I see that there are no parentheses. So I'm not going to add any extra parentheses or distribute numbers that are not there. I'm just simply going to bring that down and rewrite it on the other side of my equation. We are not adding any additional parentheses. I noticed some people were doing that in their work. You're only distributing where it's necessary. So now that I've distributed, I'm going to go ahead and simplify this. 6 times 6v is 36v. And 6 times positive 6 is just 36. This negative 5, I've done nothing with it so far, so I'm simply going to bring it down. And the right-hand side of my equation, it's still the exact same way. Now that I've distributed, I'm free to combine things that are on the same side of my equation, and then I can start moving things around. So now I'm going to check, is there anything just on the left-hand side that I can combine in order to simplify this? And I can see that I can combine this positive 36 with this negative 5. And so when I combine that, 36 plus negative 5 is going to give me 31. So this side leaves me with 36v plus 31. Then I'm going to check now, is there anything on my right hand side that I can combine? And I notice that I only have the terms positive 1 and 6v, which are not from the same family, so I can't combine anything on that side, which means I'm simply just going to rewrite it as part of my equation. Notice that I didn't combine things that are on opposite side of my equal sign, okay? This equal sign is like a wall, and this wall here separates the two parts of my equation. I can't combine things that are on opposite sides of my wall. I can only combine things that are on the same side of my equation. So now that I've combined my like terms on the left-hand side, and I've brought down everything else on the right-hand side, I can start solving the equation the way that we've learned how to solve before. We're going to go ahead and bring one of our couples to the other couple, or one of our terms with a variable to the other term with a variable. I can either move this 36v over here, or I can move this 6v over here. Either of those two steps will actually be correct. I just simply choose to move the smaller variable, in this case the 6v, to the other one. So since this is a positive 6v, I'm going to go ahead and subtract 6v on both sides. And I'm going to get 30v plus 31 is equal to positive 1. And I'm going to finish solving just here on the side because I'm running a little bit out of space. So once I get to 30v plus 31 is equal to 1, now I have to figure out, okay, I want to get my couple by itself. So do I move the 31 or do I move the positive 1? Well, if I'm trying to get the couple by itself, I want to move things away from my couple, away from the term that has the variable, which means I want to move this 31 to the opposite side. And so since I'm moving from one side of the equal sign to the other, now I can use inverse operations again to get rid of this 31. And I get 30v is equal to negative 30. Once I have the couple alone, once I have the one term with one variable, all I have to do to get that variable alone is divorce this couple or get rid of the coefficient by doing the opposite operation. Since it's 30 times v, I'm going to divide by 30, because division is the opposite of multiplication, and I'm going to get 1v is equal to negative 1. Okay, so on your task, you're going to have these steps outlined for you. You can also take a picture of this screen and have this as an example for you, or you can write it down so that you can follow these steps along when you are completing your task on your own. Now, some of your problems are also going to ask you to check, so we want to make sure we know how to do that. So if I'm checking, all I have to do is take the variable and plug it into my equation. So first I'm going to check the left-hand side, and we have 6 parentheses 6 times negative 1 plus 6 minus 5, and I'm going to see what that gives me. And then the right-hand side, I have 1 plus 6 times negative 1, and see what that gives me. And you will see that both of these sides will give you a value of negative 5, which means our answer is correct. So in order to solve these longer equations, remember to always distribute first, whether it's on one side or both sides, or maybe there's nothing to distribute, so you go on to combining like terms. Remember that when you're combining like terms, you can only combine things that are on the same side of the equation. We do not combine across our equal sign. And then we use our inverse operations in order to get our variables to one side and everything else to the other.